Heartwarming discovery. Undercover Black CO exposes unexpected truth behind crying janitor's pain. Marlon Williams, a 38-year-old CEO, stood in his high-rise office, gazing out at the heart of Detroit. The city pulsed with life, yet shadows lurked. Neighborhoods struggling, families in need. He felt a desire to form a connection, to understand his employees' lives beyond the boardroom's polished veneer. Inspired by the warm family traditions that forged his character, Marlon decided to trade his tailored suit for a janitor's uniform. Undercover, he would witness the reality faced by those striving against the odds. On a chilly evening, Marlon entered the community center with a mop in hand, his heart racing with anticipation. As he moved across the linoleum floor, the scent of lemon cleaner filled the air, masking the heaviness of unspoken stories. He noticed Henry, an older janitor whose weary eyes told tales of struggle and resilience. Often, Marlon caught Henry cleaning with silent tears streaking down his face. Drawn by compassion, he struck up casual conversations during their shared shifts. "Long day?" Marlon asked one evening, making sure to keep his voice warm yet light, hoping to break through the walls around Henry's heart. "Every day's a long day, son," Henry replied, pausing to collect himself, his voice heavy with unspoken burdens. "But we make it work, don't we?" Marlon felt an ache in his chest as Henry began to share. The stories poured out. A decorated veteran wrestling with the torment of PTSD, the weight of juggling multiple jobs, and longing for the affection of a daughter he hadn't seen in years. With each shared story, Marlon felt admiration and a sense of kinship growing for this man, whose scars mirrored the invisible battles fought by so many others. As their friendship blossomed, Marlon learned about the financial strain that shackled Henry and the judgments he faced as a black man striving to prove his worth in a society dictating his value by the color of his skin. Each revelation deepened Marlon's understanding of his employees and illuminated the shared struggles that linked them all. Then came the annual Community Appreciation event, a pivotal moment. The excitement buzzed in the air, but Marlon caught himself at a crossroads. Should he reveal his true identity as the CEO? Would it sever the raw bond they forged? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The day of the event arrived, and Marlon, now acutely aware of the weight he carried, stood before the crowd. He felt the energy shift, 1,000 eyes on him. Then, he took a breath and revealed himself as the CEO, throwing open the door to vulnerability. Shock rippled through the room, especially on Henry's face, cracking the facade of their friendship. In that moment, he witnessed an immediate change in their connection. Conversations sparked to life around merit and hardship, while Henry found the courage to reach out toward his estranged daughter. As healing began, Marlon recognized a responsibility blooming within him. The struggle for equality would need champions, not just voices. Standing at the precipice of change, he sensed the burden of his role. The path ahead was obscured yet beckoning. Could he truly transform their shared empathy into a legacy that uplifted all? As hope flickered in their eyes and the warmth of community enveloped them, one thought remained unanswered. What would they conquer together next? The Community Appreciation event had gone better than Marlon had dared to hope. The crowd buzzed with a newfound energy as people approached him with gratitude for his honesty. He saw Henry standing at the edge, uncertainty clouding his expression, but there was also a spark of hope. Marlon felt compelled to speak to him. The heart of the event had been about connection and healing, and Henry now stood as a testament to that. Marlon made his way through the gathering, shaking hands and accepting hugs, but his focus was solely on Henry. As he approached, the conversations around him faded, replaced by the thumping of his own heartbeat. "Henry," he called, a smile breaking across his face. But the older man didn't return the gesture. Instead, his brow furrowed with confusion and concern. "I don't know what to say," Henry admitted, his voice wavering. You've been right here with me, and now you tell me you're the CEO? Yeah, Marlon said softly, stepping closer. I know it's a lot, but I promise you, I'm still the same person. I want to help. I want to understand. Henry's shoulders relaxed slightly, but the tension didn't fully dissipate. You had the chance to do something big for people like us, he said, his voice choked with emotion. Why go through all this pain just to be undercover? Marlon's heart sank. Because I wanted to feel what you feel. Too often, we forget the stories behind the faces we see every day. I realized I'd closed myself off to the truth because I was cloaked in privilege. Discovering your reality changed me, Henry. It brought me back to my roots. The older man's lips turned upward slightly, but his eyes still glimmered with unshed tears. Roots. He chuckled dryly. Some of us are still digging out of the ground, Marlon. The scars run deep. I see you, Marlon replied earnestly, his own voice thick with emotion. And together, we can help each other grow. The moment hung between them, heavy with unspoken commitments. Marlon reached out and placed a hand on Henry's shoulder. In his chest, he felt a rush of determination. This wasn't just about his own awakening, it was about the community they represented. Soon after, the atmosphere shifted as others began to notice their conversation. Curious eyes turned toward the two men, and whispers filled the air. Marlon gathered his thoughts. He could feel the weight of expectations pressing down on him. But deep inside, a fire flickered to life. Everyone, he called out, raising his voice above the chatter. I want to introduce you to someone who has taught me more than I ever could imagined. As he spoke, he gestured to Henry. Around them, whispers faded into silence, and eyes widened in anticipation. Marlon felt every heart in the room align with his. Together, we're going to make real changes in this community. Who is ready to join us? As he finished, applause erupted, an organic wave of support cascading through the audience. Henry stood beside him, a hesitant smile forming. The room bubbled with excitement and hope, but just then, Marlon saw someone emerging from the crowd, someone familiar, yet unexpected. His breath caught as he recognized a face he expected to see. Could it really be? In that moment, Marlon realized they were on the brink of something monumental. He turned to Henry and whispered, I think I just found our next step. But questions raced through his mind. Was this person here to help or to hinder their journey? Marlon felt his heart racing as he stood frozen, staring into the crowd. The figure emerging slowly took shape. There was no doubt about it. It was Lisa, his high school best friend, the one he had lost touch with after their lives diverged. Lisa? He said, disbelief threading through his voice. She stepped closer, her eyes sparkling with recognition, yet shadowed by uncertainty. Marlon, it's really you. He couldn't help but feel a rush of warmth and nostalgia. They had shared countless laughs, dreams, and late-night talks about changing the world. He remembered her passion for community service, for helping underprivileged kids, a flame that had always burned brightly in her. The warmth quickly turned cold as he wondered how much she knew about his undercover journey. What are you doing here? Marlon asked, trying to keep his tone light despite the heavy undercurrent. I heard about the event. I didn't think it'd be so impactful, she said, her eyes darting toward Henry, who was still standing close by, cautiously observing this reunion. Marlon, came a shout from the crowd, pulling attention away from their moment. It was one of the local leaders. We were just talking about community needs. Can you update everyone on your plans? Marlon felt the pressure of the moment bearing down on him. He needed to introduce Lisa to the community, but fear lingered in his gut. If she knew the truth, would she still support him? He took a deep breath. Right. Just a second. With a quick gesture, he motioned for Lisa to follow him to the front. Everyone, I want you to meet someone special. This is Lisa, my best friend from high school. She has been doing incredible work in our city for years. As he spoke, Marlon noticed Henry watching him intently, emotion flickering in his eyes. It made Marlon even more aware of the heights and depths of their shared stories. Lisa smiled gently, her presence commanding the attention of the gathering. I've seen what Marlon is trying to do here, and I believe in it. Change is possible, but it requires all of us. The crowd murmured, the buzz of excitement growing as they processed the fresh connection. What do you mean change? Someone shouted from the back. What isn't it for us? Lisa's expression shifted into one of resolution. It means investing in our community, putting our resources together, and working as one to lift each other up. Because if we don't do it, who will? A ripple of agreement spread among the crowd, their energy rising. Marlon felt a wave of gratitude toward Lisa. This was her world, a world he wanted to dive into more deeply. But as the conversation continued, Marlon noticed Henry glancing at Lisa, confusion mixed with concern on his face. He could sense the questions forming, heavy with doubt. Before he could speak up, Henry stepped forward. It's great to see the excitement, but we've faced disappointments before. What makes you think this will be different this time? Everyone fell silent, the question hanging in the air like an open wound. Marlon felt his throat tighten and glanced at Lisa. This is what we need right now, she said carefully. We need honest conversations. We need to face our fears and let go of past failures. Her words struck a chord with Marlon, igniting a flicker of something bigger, a common purpose. But he still sensed an undercurrent of hesitation. Marlon knew Henry was right to question everything. It would take more than dreams to rebuild the community's trust. Maybe we can start by sharing our stories, he suggested, looking at Henry. We all have scars. It's about what we learned from them. A murmur of agreement rose from the crowd again, but Marlon felt a heaviness in the pit of his stomach. Would they be able to confront their truths and connect on that level? Before he could dive deeper into the possibilities, Lisa chimed in. Let us facilitate some conversations right here, right now. Who's ready to share? As the crowd stirred with newfound energy, Marlon took a step back, his mind racing ahead. Could this be the moment that flipped the script for their community? But just then, a loud crash echoed from the back of the room. A table had toppled over, sending chairs flying. All eyes turned toward the commotion. Marlon's heart sank. Was this a sign? Or were they narrowly avoiding a breakthrough? The crowd gasped, their attention snapping to the source of the noise. Marlon felt his heart race again, but this time it was fueled by anxiety. He scanned the room, searching for signs of chaos, fear, maybe even anger, anything that could shatter the fragile momentum they had just built. Lisa instinctively moved toward the noise, but Marlon caught her arm. Wait, let me see. He took a careful step forward, making his way through the crowd. As he approached, he could see an older man on the ground, struggling to regain his footing. It was Mr. Alvarez, the janitor at the community center, a man known for his quiet demeanor and gentle smile. Marlon's stomach dropped when he realized that something was terribly wrong. Mr. Alvarez. Marlon rushed over, helping the old man up. Are you okay? Mr. Alvarez leaned heavily against him, his face pale and glistening with sweat. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cause a scene, he managed, his voice shaky. Just tripped over my own feet. Getting old, I guess. Don't apologize, Marlon said gently, helping him back to an upright position. You're fine. Just take a deep breath. As Marlon supported him, he could see the crowd looking on with concern. The room was hushed, tension riding the air like a live wire. Lisa stepped up beside him, her earlier bravado momentarily replaced with empathy. Mr. Alvarez, if you need a moment, we understand. But the janitor shook his head, determination seeping back into his voice. No. I feel like I lost my footing, that's all. Can we keep talking? There's something important I need to say. Marlon's heart ached at the thought of the burden this man had carried. In school, they always joked about how Mr. Alvarez could clean up a mess in minutes, but they had no idea of the struggles he faced beyond the broom and dustpan. Of course, please, go ahead. Mr. Alvarez took a deep breath, then looked toward the crowd. I see a lot of you here because you care. But I want to share something, he began, his voice softer now, but steady. Sometimes, we need to face the truth, even when it hurts. My son, he struggled. He lost his way for a while. It felt like our lives were spinning out of control. I was just a janitor, how could I help him? Tears welled in his eyes, and Marlon felt a knot form in his throat. Lisa moved closer, her expression filled with compassion. You're helping us by sharing, Mr. Alvarez. Each story connects us. We all have something to fight for. The crowd began to murmur again, this time with understanding. Marlon could see something shifting. The doubt that had hung in the air started to crack. Each person was leaning in more, ready to listen. Encouraged, Mr. Alvarez continued. We abandoned our family values, our faith in one another. But I learned that it was never too late to reach out. I remember people turning their backs, but I have to believe we can change together. We owe it to each other. Tension melted into something else. Marlon felt the emotions swirling in the atmosphere, each story weaving a tapestry of resilience. The hum of connection blossomed until one voice broke through the crowd. "You're right. We do need each other." Before he could grasp the full realization of this moment, Marlon noticed Henry standing at the back, still processing it all. He looked deeply conflicted, yet the flicker of hope sparked in his eyes. Marlon opened his mouth to call out when Mr. Alvarez's voice boomed steady once more. "Let us not let this be another moment lost. Confront your fears. Share your struggles. Who would like to go next?" Marlon's heart raced with anticipation. Would the crowd follow this new path? Would they dare to be vulnerable and open? A surge of courage filled him as he glanced at Lisa, who nodded subtly, a spark of fire in her spirit. With everything on the line, Marlon felt the gravitational pull of the moment. Would they truly reveal their truths, or would this too, as Henry had feared, crumble under the weight of past disappointments? But fate had a way of turning in unexpected directions. Just then, a loud crash echoed from the back once more, this time accompanied by a shout. "Get back! Someone's here!" The words shattered the moment, freezing everyone in place. Marlon's heart sank again. What now? Marlon's breath hitched in his throat. The uncertainty loomed heavy between him and the crowd as panic flickered in the air like a single flame threatened by a gust of wind. He glanced at Mr. Alvarez, the old janitor, calming himself but clearly shaken, and felt a profound surge of protectiveness. "Everyone stay calm," Marlon called out, his voice breaking through the rising panic. He needed to steady the atmosphere, to turn this moment back to connection rather than chaos. "Let us just wait and see what is happening." The crowd stood frozen, bodies coiling tightly like springs, faces creased with worry. Lisa moved next to Marlon, her eyes wide but resolute. "Should we check it out?" she asked quietly, her voice steady in the chaos. "Let us just give it a second," Marlon said, though uncertainty gnawed at him. Curiosity pulled him towards the sound, but the thought of leaving Mr. Alvarez unsure tugged at his heart. He looked into the older man's eyes. "Mr. Alvarez, can you hold on for a moment? Maybe share another thought?" Mr. Alvarez nodded slowly, albeit with visible effort. "Of course. I want to ensure everyone is safe." The tension in the room didn't vanish, but at least it was refocused on the janitor. Marlon felt the weight shift as Mr. Alvarez cleared his throat. "We must remember that fear, while natural, can be overcome," he said, his voice strong again, weaving words of wisdom. "Let us be brave. Think about your struggles, your fears, and remember you're not alone." The crowd was absorbing his words. Marlon felt a small flicker of hope stirring amidst the uncertainty. Just then, a door at the back swung open, revealing a tall figure stepping through the chaos. The crowd collectively gasped again, eyes wide, breath held, as they took in the imposing sight. "I'm sorry for the disruption," the figure called, hands raised in a gesture of peace. "I had an emergency in my car, it broke down outside, and I wasn't sure how to get in. I didn't mean to scare anyone." Marlon squinted through the dim light. It was a woman, her strong features softening as she scanned the crowd. When she made eye contact with Mr. Alvarez, recognition sparked. "You're Mr. Alvarez, right? The dedicated janitor of this center?" Yes, I am." "Amara, are you?" Mr. Alvarez stammered, his emotion flickering between surprise and confusion. Amara took a step closer, her voice calming. "I heard you speaking earlier. It inspired me to come back." She turned her gaze to the crowd. "Please listen. I knew about Mr. Alvarez and his family struggles. I've seen their journey. It hit me hard." Marlon felt the collective heartbeat of the crowd quicken. The revelation made them all lean in tighter, foreboding shifting to curiosity. "And I realized something," Amara continued, voice resolute. "We face challenges alone too often. I made a promise to build a support system, a community, so we don't have to walk our paths in fear." Marlon's heart raced. A support system? What would it look like? Would it be real? "Mr. Alvarez," Amara said, eyes shimmering with genuine compassion, "would you help me lead this project?" Mr. Alvarez blinked, the surprise palpable. "Me? But absolutely. Your wisdom, your experience, they matter," Amara exclaimed, enthusiasm spilling from her. "Together, we can create a movement, a safe place where everyone can share their burdens and heal." Marlon felt the weight of the moment shifting. Hope flowed back into the crowd. coercing fears to make room for possibility. Would Mr. Alvarez accept? Would they unite to forge something stronger from the ashes of fear? But just when it seemed a wave of connection was cresting, Marlon noticed Henry at the back again, a mix of turmoil and anger pouring across his face. Before Marlon could catch his breath, Henry stepped forward, a storm in the calm. No, this isn't the time. Not when we're still so broken. The crowd fell silent, tension thickening again. Marlon felt a knot tightening in his chest. Would this moment splinter apart? Would they truly see their connection leverage a change? Why not take a chance? He found himself shouting, hoping to catch Henry's unraveling. Why not believe we can become something more? Henry paused, the battle for his heart visible in his clenched fists. The crowd teetered on the edge of something significant, but would Henry pull them back, or would they push forward? Marlon could only wait, hope quaking in his chest. Would they find their strength, or let a single voice drown it all? The silence wrapped around the room like a thick cloak, heavy and uncomfortable. Marlon could feel his heart racing as he watched Henry. The tension in the air swirled like an unspoken truth, some hidden hurt waiting to burst free. Henry Lisa's voice broke the stillness, laced with disagreement. This could be our chance. We can grow from this. We can change. Henry shook his head, his jaw tight. You don't understand. You don't know the scars we carry. It's easy to talk about hope when you're not the one facing the pain every day. His defense was sharp, the rawness of his emotions igniting a flicker of recognition in those around. Maybe I don't, Lisa admitted, stepping forward with courage. But I want to know. I want to understand. We all have our battles, but hiding now won't help us fight later. Marlon felt a spark of unity in her words, a certain defiance against the darkness closing around them. He moved beside Lisa, hoping to catch the momentum she had built. We don't have to pretend everything's perfect. It's okay to be broken together. But we can't ignore the possibility of healing. Isn't that worth a shot? The murmurs rose like waves through the crowd as they began to mull over this idea. Amara's hopeful energy reflected back on their faces, but Henry stood firm, a wall against collective hope. You say this now, but will you still feel that way when the world weighs us down? Maybe it will, Marlon replied, his voice steady. But we won't be alone. Fear is strong, but community is stronger. And we need community more than ever. Mr. Alvarez, observing the exchange from a few steps away, finally spoke up. Henry, I understand what you're feeling. Life has dealt some painful cards. I've struggled, too. But what if I told you that sharing makes it lighter? That revealing our pain can spark connection instead of isolation? Henry looked at Mr. Alvarez, his facade wavering. But what guarantees that this will work? What if we're just setting ourselves up to fail? Marlon leaned in, a beat of desperation in his heart. Maybe we'll fall flat on our faces. But at least we'll fall together, and that's how we learn to rise. We'll be there to catch each other. The room pulsated with the energy of conflicting thoughts. Marlon searched Henry's eyes, desperate for a glimmer of understanding, of acceptance. Just then, he noticed a well of emotion pooling there, like a wave battling to crash against a shore. Let them in, Henry. Amara's voice trembled with fierce kindness. Let us help carry your burden. It doesn't have to be a solo journey. As Henry wrestled with himself, Marlon's heart twisted in hope. The chance to build something bigger was within reach, but only if they invited each other into the conversation. Please, Marlon implored, let us at least try. You've been fighting for so long, and we want to stand with you, not against you. In that fragile moment, time stretched. The crowd leaned in, breaths held, waiting for Henry's response. Every eye was glued on the battle of emotions playing out before them. Henry's lip quivered, the storm within him battling for space. He began, the cracks in his armor revealing that he, too, was fighting for connection. Marlon could barely breathe as he waited for the next words to spill forth. Would they finally forge a path together, or would they let fears sever their chance at unity? Right then, a sudden sound erupted, a loud crash from outside, jolting everyone. With an instant rush of adrenaline, they turned toward the door. What was happening now? Would this unexpected disruption lead to the breakthrough they needed, or would it shatter their fragile moment of hope? Everyone spun toward the source of the crashing noise, hearts racing in unison. Marlon felt the energy change. Fear crept in like shadows, wrapping around the fragile hope they had just begun to foster. Henry's expression hardened, his moment of vulnerability lost as he straightened his posture, the weight of the world settling back onto his shoulders. "What was that?" Lisa whispered, eyes wide with uncertainty. Amar. Alvarez took a step towards the door, an authoritative presence even amidst the chaos. "Let us check it out," he suggested, his voice steady as he reached for the handle. Just as he opened the door, a gust of wind rushed into the room, carrying a flurry of leaves and whispers from outside. A group of students spilled in, expressions confused and a mix of surprise and alarm. One girl clutched her phone like a lifeline, her cheeks flushed with urgency. "Did you hear? There's been an accident at the diner across the street." Marlon's heart sank. The diner was a staple for everyone. Families gathered there, friends shared laughter over pancakes. The implications of such news rushed through him. "Is anyone hurt?" Henry's voice cut through the chatter, sharp and demanding. The collective tension morphed once more as uncertainty blossomed into worry. The girl nodded, trying to catch her breath. "They're saying it's bad." A man collapsed, and everyone's trying to help, but her words faltered, the terror apparent in her eyes. "Marlon." Amara's voice broke through the commotion. "We have to go? We need to see if we can help." Without thinking, Marlon moved toward the door, propelled by a surge of adrenaline. Healing wasn't just about their own struggles anymore. It was about reaching beyond themselves, connecting to a shared humanity that united them all. "Wait," Henry called out behind him, his voice raw. "I can't just stand by." Marlon paused, his heart racing again, this time with purpose. "Then come with us. Together, we can face anything, even this." The words sparked something in Henry. Reluctantly, he nodded. For a moment, the silence in the room deepened. But it was different now. It overflowed with possibility, a thread connecting all of them. As they stepped outside, the scent of chaos hit them. The normally sleepy street was alive with the sounds of concerned voices and the distant wail of an ambulance. A crowd had gathered, faces familiar yet distant, all sharing in the collective anxiety. Marlon could see the flashing lights ahead, illuminating a scene of distress. "Just stick together," he urged, glancing at Lisa, Amara, and even Henry, who blinked like a man awakened. "No matter what we find, we're in this together." They moved through the gathering, emotions swelling as they passed worried neighbors and frantic restaurant workers trying to guide people away from the chaos. Each step felt heavy with the reality that life could change in an instant. No one was immune. Suddenly, a familiar figure emerged from the crowd, a chef with flour dusted on his apron, grief etched into deep lines across his face. "I couldn't save him," he choked out, his voice barely a whisper. Marlon felt something tighten in his chest. A man's life fragile, precious, hanging on the edge. Every serious expression, every worried whisper was a reminder of their own struggles and fears, of the shadows they all faced. In that moment, standing at the edge of uncertainty, Marlon could feel the pulse of the community weaving through them. Would they find the strength to confront the pain together? As they reached the front lines of the chaos, the weight of the moment hung heavy in the air. Suddenly, a scream pierced through the crowd. Marlon turned, dread pooling in his stomach. What would happen next? Would this tragedy be the breaking point or the catalyst that pushed them toward healing? In the heart of their shared fear, the answer awaited. The scream echoed like a warning shot, slicing through the cacophony of confused voices and sirens. Marlon's pulse quickened as uncertainty twisted in his gut. He turned, searching the crowd for the source, heart heavy with the thought of what they might find. A woman staggered backward, eyes wide with terror. "Someone please. He needs help." Her voice trembled, shattering the fragile calm that had settled over them moments before. Marlon's breath hitched. A heartbeat away from chaos, everything felt impossibly still. "Stay close," he shouted, adrenaline fueling his voice as he pushed forward with Henry, Lisa, and Amara flanking him. Each step forward felt like stepping deeper into treacherous waters. They moved through the throng, dodging worried faces and grasping hands, the tension palpable. At the center of the commotion, a young boy knelt on the pavement, cradling the head of an older man whose face was ashen. A crowd of onlookers surrounded them, whispering and pointing, a myriad of emotions flickering across their faces: fear, sorrow, confusion. Marlon's throat tightened as they pushed closer, and the scene unfolded before them. The diner's once cheerful neon sign glowed dimly, a stark contrast to the panicked energy in the air. The scent of burnt coffee mingled with the metallic tang of unease. "Is he?" Lisa's voice wavered, worry etching lines into her brow. "I don't know," Marlon replied, swallowing hard. He was no stranger to tragedy, yet the weight of the moment pressed down on him, stifling hope. With every passing second, the boy's eyes brimmed with tears. "Somebody help, please," he cried, desperation spilling from his voice. Marlon's heart ached for the kid. Clenching his fists, he flung a glance at the others, their eyes reflecting the urgency of the moment. "We have to do something," Amara urged, her voice barely above a whisper. Marlon's mind raced. "What if we help guide the paramedics?" He pointed toward the flashing lights that now cast chaotic shadows on the street, illuminating faces twisted in concern. Henry nodded, determination igniting in his eyes. "Right. Let us do it." They sprang into action. The group moved as one, weaving through panicked souls, and Marlon could feel their goal becoming a tether, pulling them closer. They reached the edge of the circle, where the emergency personnel were just arriving. With urgency, they waved their arms, catching the paramedics' attention. "Over here," Marlon shouted. "We've got someone down." The paramedics rushed forth, bringing with them a flurry of motion and purpose. Marlon watched as they assessed the man, their hands steady among the chaos. His heart raced, not only from fear, but also from something deeper and unwavering will to help others, to combat the shadows creeping into their lives. But even as the medics took control of the situation, Marlon's thoughts drifted to the boy. He couldn't just stand back and watch. Marlon knelt beside him, placing a comforting hand on the boy's trembling shoulder. "Hey," he said softly, "my name's Marlon. I'm here with you. What is your name?" The boy blinked, hope flickering in his eyes. "Derek," he managed, his voice cracking. "That's my grandpa. He just collapsed." "I'm so sorry, Derek. We're going to make sure he gets the help he needs," Marlon reassured him, feeling the urgency of the moment swell in his chest. As the paramedics worked, time seemed to slow. Marlon witnessed the community's faces, the worries and fears shared among them. They were all connected, standing together. Just then, amid the flurry of action, the older man let out a soft groan. Everyone turned, breaths held, waiting for a sign of life. Marlon's heart hammered in his chest, yearning for everything to shift to hope instead of despair. Could they all find a way to heal this moment together? Just as he thought they were on the brink of a breakthrough, a new voice broke the air. "Is it true?" called out a journalist from the back of the crowd. "Is there a chance he might not make it?" Marlon's heart sank as he realized the truth of that question hung heavily in the air. How would they face this next and darkest chapter, one where hope and despair danced perilously close? With everyone's emotions suspended in that tense silence, the answer loomed ahead. The murmurs of the crowd swelled into a collective gasp, trapping the breath in everyone's lungs. Marlon's stomach twisted. The boy, Derek, gazed up at him with wide, fearful eyes, a whirlwind of youthful innocence caught in the snare of a moment grown too big. "Please don't let him die," Derek whispered, his voice almost lost amid the sirens. The sincerity of that plea struck Marlon like a physical blow. He swallowed, the lump in his throat feeling heavier than before. "We're doing everything we can," Marlon said, hoping against hope that his words held enough power to anchor Derek's fear. He squeezed the boy's shoulder gently one more time before turning his focus back to the scene. The paramedics worked with swift efficiency, their bodies moving like machines, checking vitals, administering oxygen, doing all they could. Yet the closer Marlon watched, the more he saw the regime of chaos. Each futile attempt to revive the man drew the tension tighter, like a noose, choking the hope out of the air. Just then, an elderly woman in the crowd caught Marlon's eye. She was trembling, her weathered hands clasped over her mouth, and her eyes glistened with tears. Marlon knew too well that behind her fear, there was a story a lifetime filled with loss and love. He glanced at the others, Henry, Lisa, Amara, each of them grappling with their own emotional turmoil. It was an invisible thread, binding them all together in a shared moment of vulnerability. Amara stepped closer to Marlon, her eyes filled with conviction. "We need to stay positive. The boy needs that he needs us. Her voice resonated like a spark of light piercing through the dark. Right, Marlon replied, nodding. They might be powerless to change the immediate outcome, but they could provide strength to those around them. He began to edge closer to Derek again, ready to offer another reassuring word, but another groan escaped the older man. The crowd shifted uneasily, dread hung thick in the air. Then the paramedics shifted, one of them shaking his head slightly. Derek, Marlon cried out, rushing back to the boy. Look at me. Keep your eyes on me. Focus right here. He pointed to his own steady gaze. Derek's bottom lip quivered, but he nodded, his eyes glued to Marlon like a lifeline thrown into treacherous waters. As they locked eyes, a connection bloomed between them. Marlon felt a surge of something urgent if he could help this boy believe. Maybe they could conquer the looming storm together. Your grandpa is strong, he said firmly. He needs you, Derek. Can you be strong for him? The boy inhaled sharply, searching Marlon's face as though he might find more than words there, and for a moment, the chaos around them faded. I'll be strong, Derek replied, whispery but resolute. Just then, the crowd stirred again as the medics began to wheel the elder man towards the waiting ambulance. A flicker of panic danced in Derek's eyes. Wait, is he going to be okay? Before Marlon could respond, the paramedic in charge stood up, glancing toward the crowd, his expression a mix of professionalism and a creeping sadness. He is stable, but he needs immediate care. We're doing everything we can. Derek seemed to draw courage from that, holding onto Marlon's words like a shield. But as the ambulance door closed, sealing off the flicker of life inside, the sense of loss crashed over everyone like a wave. Marlon turned to his friends, voices simmering with urgency. We can't stop here. We have to find out what's going on, make sure Derek's okay. Lisa glanced at him, a question lurking behind her eyes. But what can we do? It's out of our hands. Is it? He let his thoughts spill out. What if we dig deeper? There's always something behind every story. We can't let this moment slip away without knowing the truth. A skepticism creased Lisa's brow, but Amara's expression shifted towards curiosity, a spark ignited in her heart. Where do we even start? Henry asked. Maybe the diner, Marlon suggested, determination growing in him like a flame. There's more to this, and we need to uncover it. As they began to move, a palpable energy began to rise around them, fueled by the urgency of the unknown. People began following them, the crowd's whispers growing louder as they sensed something was shifting. Could they uncover a truth that would help heal the wounds of this moment? In the tangled maze of life, did hope lie hidden somewhere just out of reach? The question lingered in the air, rippling through the charged atmosphere. The world around Marlon felt electric as he and the group surged toward the diner, urgency propelling them forward. The crowd, once silent in fear and uncertainty, began to shift, a wave of determination slowly washing over them like a sunrise igniting the dawn. As they reached the diner, the scene inside was chaotic. Emergency personnel buzzed about like fireflies, quick and focused. The scent of burnt coffee hung thick in the air, mingling with a sense of desperation. The diner's walls, usually vibrant with laughter, were now cloaked in worry. Taking a deep breath, Marlon turned to the group. We need to ask questions. Find out what happened. They nodded in agreement, an unspoken pact forming among them to uncover the truth together. Pushing through the crowd, Marlon spotted the chef, visibly shaken. With flour-streaked clothes and hands trembling, he stood near the back, trying to hold himself together. Chef, Marlon called out, urgency in his voice. What happened? The chef looked up, eyes glistening with unshed tears. I don't know. 1 minute we were just serving breakfast, and then he just collapsed. I should have done something. His voice cracked, guilt swirling in his tone. No one could have predicted that, Lisa reassured him, stepping in. We need to understand what happened to help. Can you tell us what you saw? Taking a shaky breath, the chef gathered himself. He always came in Jack, an older gentleman. Always had the same order. But he looked different today. Pale almost. I should be noticed. Marlon's heart sank. This wasn't just a man. This was a part of their everyday life, as intricate as the coffee stains on the tables. What do you mean, different? Just something was off. And when he fell, it felt like time stopped. As the chef spoke, the weight of his words settled over the group. They were intertwined in a web of shared experiences, their lives colored by transient moments. Marlon felt a swell of hope. If we can gather everyone's stories, their experiences, we can do so much more. It's not just about one man. It's about how we come together as a community. Amara stepped up, eyes shining. Right. We can document everything. Share their stories to raise awareness. Create a safety net for anyone who might be struggling. Suddenly, a woman nearby piped up. My sister worked here. She just texted me she's coming. She saw everything. She can help. Her voice trembled with urgency. She was on break when it happened. Without hesitating, the group turned toward that familiar sense of hope. Marlon felt a jolt of excitement. See, look at how people are coming together, leaning on one another in this chaos. It's beautiful. Moments later, the sister arrived, a woman in her 20s, her eyes wide and frantic. I heard what happened. I rushed back as soon as I could. Can we ask you what you saw? Marlon urged, genuine empathy pouring from him. She nodded, swallowing hard. I was in the break room. I heard the commotion. When I got here, everyone was trying to revive Mr. Miller. He meant a lot to us. A steady presence, you know? Marlon nodded, encouraging her to share more. And did you notice anything about his state before? If anyone knew him, she said, determination growing in her voice. He was always upbeat. But his last few visits he seemed more withdrawn, like he was holding back. Maybe he just needed someone to ask if he was okay? An electric silence enveloped the group. They were all connected, all impactful pieces in a larger tapestry. Marlon took a moment to gather his thoughts, his heart racing. Then that's what we do, he urged. We connect those stories and reach out to everyone who feels the way Jack did. How many more people are out there struggling in silence? We need to let them know they're not alone. Inspired murmurs rippled through the crowd as realization dawned on them. Yes, more conversations, community programs. Amara exclaimed, her passion igniting those around her. Just then, Henry, who had been observing quietly, stepped forward. I don't want to just talk anymore. I'm tired of waiting. I've seen what happens when we go silent. I don't want anyone else to feel alone like I did. Marlon felt a rush of gratitude, admiration swelling in his chest as Henry continued. I'm in. Let us make this a movement. We can help each other heal. Cheers erupted from the crowd, a roar of shared hope and resolve echoing through the diner. Marlon felt renewed vigor flow through him, wrapping around them like an embrace. As people began to share their stories and successes, old smiles crept back onto faces, fears were met with courage, and the sacredness of connection swirled like a strong tide, quickening their strides towards something greater. In that moment, the weight of tragedy morphed into an opportunity, a chance to stand together, shoulder to shoulder against the darkness. Marlon turned to Derek, who had been watching wide-eyed through it all. See, he said softly, change is possible. Derek nodded slowly, empowerment kindling behind his eyes. Their journey had only just begun, but one thing was clear. By daring to share their struggles, they were crafting a legacy of resilience and unity, anchoring each other through life's ups and downs. And as Marlon looked around at the faces now illuminated with possibility, he realized hope wasn't just a word, it was a promise, alive and shimmering, ready to lead them all to shores even brighter than before. Now, are you ready to be part of this journey? Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support truly matters. Comment below with your feelings about this ending and what you want to see next. And don't wait not even one more second to share this with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. You need to be the change.